So as you can hear by my accent, I am from Canada. 5 years ago, I was working under the umbrella of BioConnect. In the most recent 3 years, I relocated from Canada all the way to United Kingdom. So I've been living in the UK now for 3 years. I think this is my 4th year now, where I've basically learned a lot. Been to South Korea for the first time, meet a lot of our colleagues now. And I've been basically handling everything technically when it comes to Suprema UK. My today's session, like I said before, I've broken it up into 4 parts. So the first aspect of it is what is mobile access, where I'll provide you general information, BLE versus NFC, and the supported devices that you need to basically worry about on getting this technology up and running. 2, the overall process, how does it work? And the flow and operation. So the hardware installation, how to configure it with the Airfob portal, cloud portal, and of course our Airfob patch from the Mocha system and their product lines. Dynamic and regular license. So there's 2 different types of licensing when you're dealing with our mobile access. And from a sales aspect, why mobile access? So the cost, security, and of course the recent pandemic that we have going on right now, COVID-19. And of course, access control, the benefit that it provides any distributor, any end user, any customer at all. And of course, potential case where you basically fit this technology. So I gave you there's a partner program, so you can see where the resellers and distribution could basically produce the solution, and also how they could profit and set prices. Of course, fitness customer cases, and the integration. So how does the in-app SDK works with the mobile access with your own personal app and our devices. So before I go any further again, any questions? This is all clear. Is everyone expecting what we're going to cover based on your questions? All right, perfect. So this is a little bit about Suprema before I continue. So Suprema is the leading global provider of biometric and security. So by combining world-renowned biometric algorithm with superior engineering, Suprema has introduced several technology initiatives and innovation to the security industry over the last couple of decades. So as you know already, we have the access control and time and attendance, which also communicate with our Suprema devices, which also controls door and records of time and attendance of employees coming in and out. A little background of our company. As you know, we're located in South Korea. We have a very large amount of employees, of 270, and we've started the company back in 2000. So as you know, you may see throughout my slide, Suprema 20. So this is our 20th anniversary. And when it comes to top 10 security, we are definitely on that list. And in other markets, for instance, the EMEA, we are #1 for shares of biometric access control. And definitely our devices and partners and customers is spread globally across. Products. So Suprema offers biometric readers, RFID readers, and intelligent controllers. With that being said, it could basically break it down into 2 different sections. So either centralized system, where you have a core station and dummy readers, where the core station will act as the master. And then you have a 4-door access kit, which is now in stores that you can definitely purchase. And of course, distributed system, where you have edge readers, face station readers, face light. So we definitely have pretty much everything that you were looking for in any access control system. And then we're very flexible. When it comes to popular devices, where you see majority with most of our customers, the File Station 2, File Entry BW2, Face Station 2, Face Light, and the File Entry Plus 2. And then most recently, you have the Suprema Mobile Access, which is basically access on the card. And I'll go into deeper on clarifying what that means. And of course, the BioLite N2, which is a new device that actually is supported by this Suprema Mobile Access. So I will break that down and hopefully demonstrate it showing up on the app as well. If you do want to test it yourself, there is a special firmware that's needed. Just shoot us an email and we'll basically see if we're allowed to send it over to you. Won't spend too much time on this screen here. This is strictly just the new features in our BioStar 2.714. Keep in mind 2.8 is on the brinks of coming out soon as well. So you can add the mobile credential from BioStar over to the Mocha app. Also, we've enhanced the security of code signing. We've definitely enhanced the security in the mobile usage. New devices that's coming out is an XPath D2 with a Rev 2 beside it, because the Rev 2 pretty much allows you to use the D2 within our new mobile access system. And of course, the Airfob patch is not out yet, but I think a few more tests, and I think in the next 3 weeks, you should be able to witness and be able to use that device. The core station with the most recent firmware for a web server, it could support the core station and FaceLight as a slave device. And then last but not least, you have access groups, and you have device in certain access group. That being said, you can now selectively transfer different types of users in different groups within the devices. So not like the old time where all their devices will hold every single user, even if they don't even use that reader at all. So that's some new and improved information. So before I start now into what is Suprema Mobile Access, someone had their hand up. Okay, looks like it's been sorted. So what is Suprema Mobile Access? Suprema has announced the release of its new mobile contact solution. So it's a complete platform for managing, issuing, and tracking access credential using your smartphones. So you see on the very top, you have RFID cards, which most of you guys are used to and been using, which is now added with their mobile device. And now you have mobile access, basically a card within a mobile phone that you can then use the badge on a reader that's attached to a door to trigger that relay and open that door. One large confusion that will probably be the case today, and I'm hoping to clarify it moving forward. Everyone's used to our BioStar mobile card. So with the BioStar mobile card is you're able to log into our mobile app. You could add a user, you can enroll their fingerprint. They could then go to the system and use the reader use their finger on the reader. You could then log in and see the logs from the mobile app. You could then also control the door. So you can actually open the door, close the door from the mobile app. And one special access that was there was the mobile card, where you can actually register a mobile credential on your phone and then use their mobile app at the same time. So if you had an iPhone, you can see it takes a little while for the mobile app card to pretty much authenticate and let you in. And then if you have an NFC unit, then it will be the exact same dilemma, but the different devices will support different types of technology. So some Android units will support NFC only. And then of course, if you have an iPhone, you know only BLE is your functionality at that point. So moving forward, we've now taken away the BioStar 2 mobile card. That will be ending officially based on certain releases. So if you have the latest release, then you probably noticed that it's not there anymore. But we officially stopped supporting it and discontinue as of September 2020. So moving forward now, you should be able to see Airfob, which is an icon that shows an A and F. Moving forward, it's called, and then if you're using BioStar, you're looking at Suprema Mobile Access, right? So of course you have the airfob.com where you could actually register and add a user and send the mobile card via email to your phone, where you wouldn't need BioStar at all. But then now with the latest and most recent release, you can now add a user within BioStar, which would then link to the portal, which will then continue to use access and send an email as well. So I'll try and go through that later on in our slides. I just want to give you a clear understanding of the difference between the two. So there's no longer going to be BioStar 2 mobile card within the BioStar app, but you could still continue to use the app and enable your cloud, but you can only manage users, logs, and doors. So I hope that's very clear moving forward. So if any of your clients are asking, hey, what about, all the stuff I've been using with the mobile card? Like I said, with the new release, you could literally reissue a mobile card and that will be added to a portal, and then you could basically use that as well. General information so you guys are aware of. So how card IDs of Suprema Access are guaranteed is we support the EM cards, MyFair cards, DesFire cards, HID Prox card, and HID iClass. And of course, the manufacturer that actually creates those cards, not us at all. We then generate a number based on the BioStar administrator, which synchronizes with the Airfob portal. So if you're wondering how that basically works, it's pretty much you generate a number in BioStar, and then it syncs with the Airfob. Right. So at the current moment, you will see an option for different types of cards that we support. So you have the CSN, which is the private ID. And of course, you can select Wiegand and ASC2 text value. So with the Wiegand, how that could come to play. So imagine you have a Paxton panel, and then they're issuing 26-bit cards. And then the user has a selective card in that third-party software. What that means is when you give that person an Airfob, you just have to select you're using Wiegand and select the right format to match the AC panel for that to continue to work as well. So some general question that we've been getting recently since we've just launched this new technology is Suprema Mobile Access can be applied with centralized solution or a distributed solution. So that being said, you can use centralized or you can use distributed. So either or, up to you. I'll try and demonstrate that today from BioStar, how I have my little setup here, which has both a core station and then some readers not attached to the core station at all. So if you install 2 readers for in and out, would there be any issues on open the door? So what that's basically saying is the strength of the BLE is measured differently. So if you tag your reader from the outside, it does not open the reader from the other side or the inside. So keep that in mind as well. All right, moving forward, we're gonna go into BLE versus NFC. So you can pretty much look at that as Android versus Apple in a sense, but because some Android phones support both BLE and NFC, it's completely different. With NFC, the speed of reading is 1 second. And of course, with BLE, it's less than 1 second. So with this new technology, we're able to figure that out where we could actually use the BLE reader or our phone to trigger a relay in a very timely manner. So that's the beauty of the MoCA algorithm. So if you look carefully and see now, many people think NFC only is good enough to use for Android devices. But in actuality, you have now an emulation of Android NFC. So as long as your phone support NFC HCE, then therefore you could kind of get that support from NFC/BLE. So our devices support both BLE and NFC. But from the trend that you can see here, most Android phones are just not supporting NFC at all, which are now moving to the BLE technology. So for more universal use, BLE is the best choice. So of course, as you see, most phones are all using it. So why not focus more on the BLE technology and increasing that technology as well within our devices. So as you know, Bluetooth is not proximity communication. It's more of a distant communication, like a beacon and beacon advertisement. So the challenge lies in how to control the BLE distant consistently, right? So immediate, near, and far is basically what we're over and over time we're improving. So Android devices are more difficult compared to iOS because its manufactured varies and BLE reception signal is known to be sporadic. So I will show you guys a bit of both. So A, an iPhone using BLE, and then B, I'll show you an Android using BLE, and then I'll show a video of an Android using NFC. All right, so that was the iPhone BLE technology on our XPass reader. Now let's start with the Android device using BLE technology on our readers. Last, let's look at Android and NFC. You kind of compare the speed between the two to see if you see a difference. Perfect. So now let's get into devices that are supported with this technology. So as you know before, we had the mobile, BioStar 2 mobile, which basically majority of our devices were supported on that if they had BLE technology or NFC. But with the new Airfob pass, which uses a card type of CSN cards, and it issues from BioStar server PC and the Airfob portal. So you have two options to issue cards. Your Android unit has to have Android 6 Marshmallow or above, or it won't work. Your iOS has to have iOS 11 or above. The technology for most Android is BLE and NFC. With iOS, it doesn't support BLE at all. Sorry, NFC at all. So it has to be the BLE technology. And of course, you would need BioStar 2.7.12 and above. So if you have a previous BioStar 2, you're probably going to see the BioStar 2 mobile and not this new functionality we're talking about today. Right? Supported devices at the current moment for the Airfob pass is only the XPass 2. So if you have an XPass 2, then you could definitely go to airfob.com and you'll be issued 50 credits as a promotion, which would then be able to issue mobile cards and phones, and you can use it on the XPass 2. As of late, I have recently received the firmware to add it on the BioLite N2, which would then allow you to register that device within the Airfob portal and have your phone work on that as well. Keep in mind there is an Airfob patch as well that you can actually place where that card symbol is right there. And usually any device that has a card antenna, that's usually where the Airfob has to go. So you think of certain devices that may have a different antenna, different location. So be mindful of that as well. So another supported devices would be the XPass D2. So they're known to be dummy readers, which would then be a product line that works with the core station or just passing Wiegand through to a ACU, third-party controller. But as of late, we now have a new device coming out called XPass D2 Rev 2. So how we differentiate within our software, we're now adding a blue mark on that device in the list, which would then let you know that this is a XPass D2 Rev 2, which would then be supported with the Suprema Mobile Access credential. All right. Keep in mind, if you're trying to add if you have two doors and you want to add a D2 Rev 2 as a slave, let's say for the outdoor reader, and then the XPass reader as a master on the opposite side, then you have to be mindful of the firmware that's being used. So right now, with the latest version of BioStar 2, the firmware for the XPass is still 1.1, but if you actually visit our supremainc.com website, then you could download the latest firmware, which is 1.2, which allows you to add the slave Rev 2 as the XPass to an XPass master. Keep in mind the Rev 2 has to have firmware of 1.4. So if you run into issues, definitely check the version of your phone, check the version of the BioStar you're using, and then also check the device firmware. Very key. And of course, we'll be rolling out the other devices either later in Q2 or trickle into Q3. But keep posted on our support.suprema Inc. webpage and check the star on our announcement so you'll be alerted when new technologies are arriving. So the overall process. So if you're wondering how this basically works, so you have an admin who issues a mobile credential from the Airfob portal. The portal then sends a credentialed email, so credential data, to the user's phone via email or SMS. So you can do either or. So you can do email or you can do a text. Obviously with email, depending on firewall, depending on your security, based on other things, it could take a while. Text could be instant. And then they click on that email, it would then prompt them to download the app if they don't already have it. If they have it already, then it'll pretty much add it into the mobile Airfob pass. And there you go. That's the overall simplistic information on how this works. Let's go deeper into it. So like I said before, the requirements, very simple. Android 6.0 or above has to have the NFC and BLE supported, so that option has to be ticked on your phone. So if you turn off BLE or your NFC, the phone does alert that it's not on when you open the app. For iPhone, only BLE is supported, so you pretty much don't really have much to toggle. And of course, the XFast at the current moment is the leading device that's supported by this technology. So I'll give you a run through, a video of how to register a device via the app. All right, so you kind of see that on my screen there. So if you look carefully now, I'm going to show you. So this is my iPhone. So if I was to click the Airfob pass, so you see my screen properly. This is basically all the different sites that I've created that I'm handling and managing. All right, so if I click on this one site here, I could then select to register that device to that Airfob site. All right, so if I go to registered list, that means this is what device that I have registered already on my list within that site. So currently I don't have anything. So if I go back, I can then register a device from this mobile app. So click on here. So here you see a bunch of different lists of devices. So if the device says in use, it's either one, I have users from BioStar living in that device. So I would have to delete the users, factory default device, reset it, and then I'll be able to do so. I've also noticed if I use the device manager app, it also allows it to come up as in use as well. So be mindful of that. And of course, what most people haven't seen yet is the fact that you can now see the BioLite N2. So why I'm telling you that, so let's say now with the new COVID-19, customers do not want to put their biometric finger on this reader. This is where this technology comes key, because the Airfob patch can then be placed on that reader where you could then click register. Then you hear a chime on the device. You can press OK. Now that device comes as in use. So if I go back, if you can still see, I can now rename that device if I want to. So let's say I'm gonna name it front door. So it will load, and and now it's called front door. I can go back. All right, and of course, if you have an Android unit, so this is a BlackBerry. Yes, don't judge me. I'm the only one that still uses a BlackBerry. I could still do the same thing on the BlackBerry, so the device come up on a different scale. If I go to register device, I could scan. But keep in mind, the version of Android matters. So you notice I'm not really seeing much on my BlackBerry. It is an outdated phone, don't judge me. So yeah, moving along now. So yes, as you saw before, you can send an email from the portal. So I will exit out my screen here, so I can show you guys in the portal how it looks. So this is the portal. So if I want to add a user, I'll click add user in the portal. Well, first let me log in. So if you go to airfob.com, it will redirect you to mcmochainc.com. If you have any old Suprema with the old name link, it would then still redirect you. If you have the old design of how Mocha looks, it will also change to the new AF Suprema logo. So obviously that's my email address that I've used to create a site. If you don't have one at all, you could go sign up and enter an email address. So I'll try and pick an email I haven't used at all. I don't think I've used this email here. So as soon as you get started, it would then send an email authentication code. So it's basically 6 digits. So once you receive that code within your email, you would then punch the exact code in. I won't wait for it to come in, but I'll just give you an idea. If it comes in right away, then I'll move forward. If it doesn't, I'll continue. All right, so it's not coming in right away, so I'll go back. So after you sign in, create your email address, you confirm, then the screen it will ask you now is to log in, which is this screen here. So I'll click on my name, my email address, punch in my password that I have set up for it. And then now I could choose different sites. So if I'm a user that's going to be using multiple sites to manage as an admin, I could create and select and go back and forth between different devices, right? So if I click on third-party channel here, right? So it shows me three users. So if I click on add a new user, so my colleague who's a panelist right now, so Hatem, who's in IT, his email address. So right there it says hatem@supremainc.com. You could add a picture of Hatem if you want to. So this is what will show up on his actual screen. And then if you click save, it just saves Hatem's information. So let's say if you want to pre-set up a site, you could add all the users on the site and keep creating. And then after you've created, you could go back and add a card, or you could do it all in once. So if I basically went down back to Hatem and add a card, here I selected the email settings. I could leave the predefined number that it has in there, which is 9988941. Or I could click into it and give a number of 6 of my choice to match his user ID. And the bottom, I'll click on issue. All right, so that failed, but to give you an idea, it would have showed what you see behind here, which is pretty much my user information. So right here, I have card number 4 from my Paxton panel, and that's the card number. It's now activated. All right, so if I was to go back now and show you my mobile app screen, that's that exact same user. So Paxton card 4, fully activated. All right. So now moving back. So that's what would have happened at this stage here. You create an email address, it would get sent to the phone. You then open the phone, download the app, and then you can move forward. Now on a deeper scale, the overall process. So you create a site like I just showed you. You then register a device through your mobile app, which I've explained there. You issue a mobile card from the portal. You get an email. You now use it with your device. All right. Next, if you have a third-party app, so in a sense, you would then use you would call from APIs through a third party to issue mobile credential. All right, so using the in-app SDK, where you call APIs in order to issue the mobile credential. It would then input encrypted credential data into the in-app data, which you then incorporate with your personal third-party app, and then you can still also just follow the same process and use it on your phone. The new process, which is pretty much you join in on the Airfob portal, you register a device on the Airfob pass, and then you configure the Airfob portal information to the BioStar settings, and then you add a device to the BioStar 2, and then you add a user with an email, and then you confirm the email on the mobile device, and you activate via the phone, and then you can continue and use the phone on that device. So if you want to follow and test and follow along on your own, we do have links on our support portal. So support.supremainc.com, where you can see a sample, and I'm gonna show a video after, but just let me show you a live look of what to do and the options that you have. Now you see I have multiple sites. So let me click on my HQ Mobile Access. So while that's doing that, I'll just demonstrate the BioStar site as if we're going to be doing that. So let's say we're already registered a mobile card via the portal and a user. You could then come to BioStar. So we'll log in first. Log into BioStar. You could create a user if need be. So and again. So high time is 6. I won't give them any credential to log in. So I'll just save them for now because there's another important part you gotta be mindful of. So if you click on setting in the BioStar 2 app, go to the app that says mobile credential. So here you can set to match where your site is, right? So for instance, right now I'm attached to an existing site that I've set up with my email address. So if I basically want to change that information, so I'll enable it. It's asking me for the site ID, my password, and my email, and then I hit connect, all right? So first things first, you go to setting, and you go to site. So this is where my site ID is. So my site ID here is 1191, and my license type that I've selected when I've created it is regular, and the messaging option I've chose over SMS is email, right? And that's the name of my site, so UK Mobile Access. So with that being said, if I go back to my BioStar 2 setup, all right, so this is where I'll alter that information right here. And if you go back to my portal, make sure you're putting the right site and the right device is matching the right site information. So that's my email address and my password. Then you hit connect. So I'll play the video to show you guys what I try to show you live. All right, so as you can see, you're able to add a device like I showed you before from my mobile phone from your app from the Air portal, then move on to BioStar 2 and reference your site ID, and you can issue a mobile card from BioStar and it will link and sync right back to the Airfob portal. Installation standpoint, there's basically two ways that you could pretty much do the installation. If you're looking at my screen, pretty much you can see you can register a device just by you just powering it and logging into it, your profile. So on an iPhone, so I do a face recognition. So as soon as I log in, which you can see on my screen, the site. Here. There's a device. These are all the devices that I already have installed already. That being said, so here's a centralized location of core station. So I can have this X Firelight Net2 and 2 vegan into the system. So that's pretty much over here. You see, I'm using the green cable, white and black for vegan. And that's the exact same setup that's going to the core station. Or I could do this to a third-party panel, which is an accent panel. So that's going to D1, D0 and ground. And of course, I'm powering the reader directly from the ACU. So that could be a third access reader connected to a third-party system via the vegan cables, power, and then network if need be. You could also have a keypad reader that could be RS485. So that's pretty much the TRX minus, TRX plus, and ground cable connected directly to the core station. And then you can add it to a door. You can also power the reader from the core station, or you can have the power supply separately. So back to that question, we say, can you add it to a centralized location? You can. Here you have a distribution setup, where you have the N2 wired directly to your network, and then you have the power, and basically you're using the relay cables in the back of the reader to the door to then trigger if you were to take your mobile unit and come to the device. So as you see here, I'm exiting out of my site because that's basically just for registration. So if you go all the way back, it brings you to the mobile card. You can see it based on the sun glare. If I go close enough, I could toggle between foreground and background. So as you know what that means, if I was to lock my phone like this, I could still be operational. All right, so all you gotta do is come to the reader, that's getting a blue, it would then react on the violet N2. So it's not officially out yet, by the way. So back to my slide. So when using the XPass on a third-party system, which I just showed you, it's literally you using BioStar 2, link with the portal, or if you have a third-party app, you would then use your in-app SDK to sync with the email credential of adding a mobile credential to a user, and then you could come directly to the XPass, and then you'll get in via Vegan. So a question how that may work. I'm just hoping that basically when this load and you go to settings and then go to the card credential settings, you can select between vegan, CSN, or text value. So right now I've selected vegan and 26-bit. So that being said, now is the reader is spitting out and the mobile credential is understanding that is a 26-bit. So therefore now if you go to Paxton and we're to set up the configuration, which I'll show you guys. So if anyone is familiar with Paxton, you'll understand how to set the vegan credential. So here is a third-party system called Paxton, which is largely used in the UK and recently in North America. So if I go to the Wiegand settings, I set it to 26-bit. So now the portal is looking or setting out 26-bit. The ACU is looking for 26-bit. We're now in sync, right? So if I was to now add a new user, then that card number has to match with that user. So the token number is 20647. I'll do the exact same within the user setting as well. It's just, wish my portal was going a little faster. Yeah. So for instance, he has a card number of 9-27459. I would then add the same number for his Paxton profile. So that's George. Make sure he has access. Add a new token. Now basically the exact same number that you see here on my screen, which is 274. So upon adding that number now within the profile, you're now matching exactly what's in the portal. And then that's how, going back to my screen here, that's how you have this working with a third-party controller. And you already saw how I configured with the portal already, with the video and my little mini demonstration there before my portal started going slow. Here is the Airfob patch. So with the Airfob patch, it pretty much helps overcome a lot of obstacles. So with this new pandemic situation that's now up on us, it saves customers relocating devices, buying new devices, lets you keep exactly what you have in place, and you place the patch directly on the reader, and then therefore you can still continue and overcome this challenge that we're facing currently right now. So the Airfob patch is just a new device making transition to the mobile access cost, making everything efficient. This is what we've been trying to solve for a while. So that's why we have a new company called Mocha, which is now focusing on this particular market directly. And how the Airfob patch works, it's basically harvesting power from the RFID reader and converting it via RF signals. And that's pretty much how it's basically functioning when you place your phone. So if you're worrying about powering and energizing, it basically does it by itself, strictly from the actual RFID reader. So it's not fully out yet. It will be coming out soon as we're finishing tests. I will give it a video demonstration of how it works on a third-party reader, and then also at the very end on the N2 that I have. So keep in mind the N2 could be added directly with the firmware to our system because it does support BLE and NFC. But let's say you had a different device that didn't support it, then you can use the patch on the reader itself. So here's the mobile access failing on the third-party reader. You then get the Airfob patch, place it exactly where the card antenna is. Place the phone on the patch, and then you get a green light for success. Keep in mind your cards will still also work, so there won't be any conflict or any disruption there. Here you have a smartphone on the BioLite Net. So the patch is right there where the card icon is. So one of the specs of the Airfob patch, power, you could power it without any battery at all. It's energy harvesting, it's wireless communication. It's a translator of BLE to RF signal. No additional construction. It's literally a patch that will stick adhesively strong enough where it's hard to actually peel off. So don't think it's just you put it on there and it's just easy. Anyone can just walk by and take it off. It actually takes a lot of power in order to remove that patch. And we are looking to improve that connection from the surface of where you're putting the patch onto. The size is 30 times 30 times 5 for width, height, and dimension millimeters. The energy supplies is 13.56 megahertz of RS energy harvesting. So we most likely won't support 125 kilohertz at all. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the radio frequency. The compatibility for cards is MyFair and CSN and smart cards. And of course, the power status and the card emulation as well. And it is IP rated, so IP65. As we improve, it could definitely change. So here's the product lineup of the Mocha system. So the first one, which is coming soon, is the Airfob patch, followed up with an Airfob edge reader. And of course, it's out already, the Airfob Pass mobile app. And if you have any third-party systems or a third-party app and you want to integrate with this technology, you can by requesting the Airfob in-app SDK. Keep in mind, this is a fairly new system and we're still working out the kinks and making it very strong. And as you see my browser there, it definitely will improve. So for technical support, if you're into coding and you understand coding, we definitely do have a PDF that outlines an Android in-app SDK commands about what you need to use to control your devices, and same for the Apple devices. And of course, you have the Airfob portal where you can issue license and create users. So as a special promotion right now, if you were to go to airfob.com and register and sign up, you get 50 credits for regular cards. And after 1 month of deduction for dynamic cards. So you get 50 credits for regular, and then you get 1 month credit of deduction for dynamic cards. So we'll get into the difference between regular and dynamic, and you can see which one you want to select moving forward. So you want to do a trial run. So first, we're going to launch the Airfob patch, giving out free sample units. And then next will be a pre-launching event for product testing. And of course, the official release, where we can actually start selling to customer directly. So how it works is Mocha sells to Suprema, and then Suprema will sell to whoever you've been dealing with currently right now. So this is a very key point of our presentation. So if you want to take notes, I definitely recommend it, because I feel this might be the bulk of the confusion. What is dynamic and what is regular license, and where and when would I use it, or where would it benefit me? So the major difference between the two is they both are operating inside the portal. So as soon as you create a new site, it asks you, do you want to do dynamic license, or do you want to do a regular license? So the choice is yours, basically. So you can't change it after, by the way. But you can make another site and select which one that you may want to do if you didn't want to do it the first time. The card action. So within the portal of a regular, you can only add users and add a card. That's basically it. In the app, it's going to basically show up with the person's name and all the information that you set up within. It's very default, so you can't add any custom of how the card may look. The card status, you're going to either get before activation, which you saw in my screen there. As soon as I created a profile and added the email address and hit send, it says before activation. That means that person hasn't opened that email yet and they haven't clicked activation yet. The moment they click activation, you refresh your screen, it now says activated. So they can now come directly to the reader and it'll work. Dynamic, you have multiple choices and a lot of perks with dynamic. Only difference is it's a limitation of a subscription service. So that being said, the action you have in dynamic is add, delete, and pause. Before activation, you can activate, you get deleted, you get deleting, expiring, expired, pause, you get multiple card status. So as the overall view, they're both operate in the cloud server. That regular is a one-way communication. The communication data is issue new cards and reissue. That's basically it. For dynamic, also in the club, subscription sync communication. So you issue a card for 1 month, that person no longer available, you could reissue that card, somebody else, you could delete it, you could pause, and you could have validation date. So if you're looking at my screen, I'll show you my mobile device. Yep. So if you look carefully there on my screen, it shows an expiry date of that dynamic user. Right, so you could basically set a date, and it actually shows on the card when it's going to be valid and when it's going to expire. So the user is fully clear on what they need to do if it does expire. So recapping again, so for a dynamic, it's 1 credit per 1 device a month. Right, so target for dynamic would fall along the lines of fitness, membership, shared space. Features that you get with it is unlimited numbers of mobile card issuance, remote control and revoke, communication data, like I said before, issue new card, reissue, delete, pause, and validate. And then of course you need constant internet connection in order for it to work properly. And of course you get 5 minutes of disconnecting grace time, sorry. And then for regular, you get 1 credit per card. So target would be fixed workers, right? So quick scenario would be, I've now created a new sports facility where athletes who come in and play football, because I'm in the UK, it's very popular. I could then give my employees the regular site configuration. So they're fixed workers. So they'll have their own cards. If they get a new phone, that's fine. I just have to reissue the communication data, and then they'll just add the link onto their new phone, and then the same card will show up, and they can continue to use it and move forward as long as it supports BLE and NFC. Dynamic, that would be for all the customers that are coming in and out of that same said gym that I've created, and I can give them limitation, right? So if I have a device for in and out, that's basically, let's say 36 months. Therefore, in that case, I'll need 72 credits. All right, moving forward. So I'll break down a scenario of how regular will come into play and what happens. So let's say I issue a mobile ID through the portal to user A with card ID 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they'll then come to the reader and present that same Airfob pass onto the reader and gain access. So now let's say they no longer are with the company anymore. So therefore, they could leave with, as obviously it's their own device, but they actually leave with ID 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Because we didn't get it back. So therefore, I can't reuse that card ID or that number. So hopefully that's clear to everyone of where that would fit and where it wouldn't fit, right? Especially if you're on a credit limitation basis. Moving along, dynamic. So let's say now I've created a site. I've selected my license to be dynamic. I now go add new user in the Airfob portal, issue a card ID to user A, 1, 2, 3, 4. That said user takes the Airfob pass onto the device. They gain access, in and out, everything's all good. They now leave the company. I could then go into the settings because I have a dynamic setup, and I could revoke the mobile card and then issue from user A to a new user and reuse it. Right, so this is a guy that had that user. Now I've reissued it with a different user altogether. So giving you more examples to give you a clarity when it comes to dynamic or regular. So you can sell the same credits and users choose the license mode that they want. So let's say Mocha system now has sold Suprema 10,000 credits. I then issue 100 credit supply. So 10 goes to, sorry, to my 10, I supply 100 credits to my reseller or SI, right? So I'll recap that. So Mocha sells Suprema 10,000 credits, right? Suprema then takes 100 credit and supply out of the 10,000 to an SI and a reseller. That reseller or SI then issues 10 credit to one end user, and that end user decides to create their own site, and they select a regular license. So I'm guessing that that's a hotel for their workers. So they're fixed workers. So they're not going anywhere. It's just fixed, same card in and out of the hotel coming for work. They then issue another set of license to another end user, which then use dynamic. And that end user could be a gym, right? So obviously with gym, you have gym membership. I signed up for a gym for a year. I didn't actually go there the entire year, so I was just paying randomly. I no longer want to go anymore because it's costing me money. I'm not using it. They can now revoke my pass and give it to someone else that's signing up for the gym, right? And of course, they'll run out eventually of credits that I've given them. So therefore, they'll come back and I can resell them, and they continue the same process. So that could trigger some information there for you guys for your scenario within your region of how you could sell and reuse these licenses. And a good question, this is probably going to come out down the road: can you issue regular and dynamic for one site? Yes. So if you looked at my portal there, you saw that I have multiple sites where I have dynamic and regular. So obviously, to separate them, I'll create a regular and have all my employees on that regular site. Same site name, but just a different license and different users. Same location again, select dynamic, select the readers that will be used for that dynamic, and then that's where my customers go in and out, and I'll control it from that aspect. I can add additional admin as well to handle those users, to manufacture and add new ones or revoke cards. So you're very flexible when it comes to this technology and this license steps. So breaking down dynamic even more. So imagine one credit is equal to one device times 1 month, right? So to avoid any confusion, if you get one credit, consider that's meant for one device, and they're gonna be using it for 1 month. So 1 month turns into 36 months. And then you're adding 2 devices, so for in and out. So that's gonna be 72 credits, right? So you're just adding 36 times 2. So you can see why they purchase 10,000 credits. Other scenarios that you could pretty much look at, you could have, reseller gets a margin in regards to buying at low and selling high. Basically, you can do whatever you want with this setup. The end user price for Airfob pass access is flexible. And then of course you could have case studies where the end user price is for Airfob passes access. So you could use a different scenario where you use an office, a gym. You could use it where your reseller has its own customers, distribution have its own SIs that it can sell to, various options. And of course you could design and fix and change the location of where everything is located. So if you look before when I was showing you my my phone there, you could position where the date goes, the name, the picture could be larger if I wanted to, the department name could basically be separated to move around if you want to, and the name could be smaller or big. So as I mentioned before, as a partner selling to different customers, this is what the partner location and site looks like, right? So if you click on partner.mochainc.com, you get a complete different look because you're just reissuing and selling license credits to your distribution or your customers that resells. And you can pick and choose. You can invite different admins if you want to. It's just a matter of just clicking invite, entering their email address. So if I also click on my personal email address here, then you'll get sent an invite to be able to control and add information as I please. But this is what I want to show you guys live and direct, where you could actually modify your actual look of your dynamic card. So you could enhance the picture, you can make it smaller, you can move the name to a different location, the validation period you can move as well. You can add user can add the field of user information on the card. So this only comes with dynamic, by the way. So if you have regular, you won't have this option of custom card. And you also won't have this option as well to set the validation date. So predefined, you have 1 day, 2 days, 2 days, 1 week, and 1 year that you can select the valid periods from. And of course, you can choose whether to text the card to the user or email. And of course, you'll see expire on the card when they open it. You can also remotely control the status of cards. So if you block someone's card, it will basically show deactivated. If it's expired, it'll show expired. And if obviously no internet connection, it will definitely let you know. You could obviously restore if you want to. All right, so if I have everyone paying attention throughout my presentation so far, here's our first quiz. So the question is, list the communication data for dynamic cards. Right, you can either do A, issue new cards and reissue, B, validate reissue card and issue new card, or C, issue new card, reissue, delete, pause, and validate. So I'm going to look at the participation list here. And if anyone wants to volunteer to go ahead, raise your hand and I'll unmute you to allow you to talk. If no one does it, I will pick a random name. Let's go with David Taylor.
I'm going to go with C.
All right. So David Taylor selected C. Does anyone in our participation list disagrees with David, or everyone agrees? So I'm going to take silence as everyone agrees. All right. We got no challenger, David. So the answer is C. So good. Glad everyone understands dynamic and regular, because I feel that's the only difficult part in our session today, is understanding that aspect. Next question, which one of these devices below supports BLE and Suprema Mobile Access? You know the either. You have A, XPass 2, B, BioStation 2, or C, FaceStation 2. So different participation users this time. Anyone as a guess? Raise your hand if you want to be the first to answer. All right, there we go. So we have Jeff.
It's just XPass 2.
Answer is A. All right, we've been going for over an hour and change. So I will give, let's say, 10-minute break. So we'll come back at 4:50. Oh, sorry, that's my time. All right, so everyone should be back. Can everyone see my screen? Kate, can you verify?
Yes, I can see your screen and Airfob portal.
Perfect. All right, so quickly before this time's out on me again, so if everyone's paying attention, as you see now with the dynamic license, you have two options. You have user template and card template. So if I click on card template, it gives you a set amount of predefined cards to play with. So if I select this one here, a screen comes over where I could then, if I want to show the ID number, I can. I just have to click enable. So you really can't see it based on the color. So if I make it pink and a little larger, It's basically this right here. So the ID could be very big right there. The title of the person could go, let's say here, department here, name underneath the picture. And for the image, you can make it a lot bigger if you want to. All right, so this is the perks that you get with the dynamic. You can hit save, and that would be the look of it if it's the case. And you can make it default by hitting the default card in the top right. And of course, if you were to go to the user template, so if ID doesn't work for you in your field, it's not required, you could, move it down. If you need a field that's not listed, you could definitely add more if you need to. So let's say, height's important. You can put required, so they have to put their height, hit confirm. So if I was to come back into one of the cards, I can then see the height right there. And then it's a matter of just where you want to put it. So height's there. All right, and you set the color green. All right, so this is the flexibility of dynamic only. So unfortunately, you can't register a device from the Airfob portal. You have to use your mobile phone to do so. And of course, in the settings, like I said, if you were to connect to a site, you'll be able to add devices directly in. So if you go to mobile credential, advanced, so that's your site. So see how I don't have the option for the device connection or to the portal from BioStar. So you gotta be very mindful what version you have. All right, so I can still connect to it, no problem, so they could talk, but I cannot add the device. So I need to have 2.7.14 in order to do so. So don't be alarmed if you have this version and you don't see extra steps. All right, so moving along back to my slide here. So why mobile access? Break it down into 3 points. So A, cost is definitely a huge benefit. As you know before, purchasing cards year in, year out could definitely add up. And then of course, no additional wiring is needed, just attach onto an RF antenna, no additional costs, no hardware installation, no additional settings or software or firmware upgrade. That your mobile phone is all you need, our web portal, and an XPass reader, and you're good to go. So it makes it a secure management when phone is lost. If someone loses their phone, you can revoke it. If someone loses their phone, you can basically reissue it to their email onto their new phone, and then that protects security aspect of things. Less costs will keep on recurring and buying new cards every year because this is just your phone. Of course, the Airfob patch doesn't stop there. In a sense, you could also add it onto different technologies within your office. So for instance, OA printer, a USB reader, or a kiosk. You look carefully, the kiosk is a card module there. So you could actually, let's say you install a XPass behind that, you can definitely do so. And then your in-app SDK could be the display what you see on the screen. So that's another flexibility aspect that you could pretty much use for that. Security. So this is a huge one, which you probably majority of the rebuttals that you will get from a pre-sale setup As you see over the years, the evolution of credentials went from password, PINs, regular cards, proximity, smart cards, and biometric. And of course, with the most recent situation of COVID-19, you have a lot of touchless technology coming out. So we're right in line with their mobile or Suprema Mobile Access, along with our face recognition device as well. And if you look at the chart of high security with low costs, mobile phones fit right in the mix. So of course, the unsafe portion would be, you know, Prox, MyFair Classic, EM, where you could purchase a clone device on Amazon right now and clone a card and continue to dish it out to different and gain access. Or you could look at the more secure cards, but of course, high price is attached to that as well. So you have MyFair Plus, Desfire, which costs a lot. So imagine every year you're losing 100 of these cards. It costs a lot pretty much. Whereas phones, they all come with warranty as well and insurance. If you see a company is sponsoring the phone for their employees, you could have a contract with the phone company in a sense where if you lose your phone, you get a refurbished one instantly. More security, you can be used by tagging your smartphone. Need to meet employees to issue new cards, so you don't have to physically be on site to give a new card. You can literally do it remotely. The encryption of the data is AES 128 encryption. And of course, the governance of iOS 27001 certified system and operation. So between the mobile Airfob pass and the reader is a digital signing with a secure site key and a card data encryption, and also a site-specific key. So as you see, the forewarn is asking you what is a site ID. So that's a huge factor when you have multiple sites, and then where the device will be located. And of course, the device does verification via certificate and site private keys and a secure element. So at each different handshake, as you can see, so from the reader, I'll start from the server. So from the BioStar 2 to the cloud, there's the API, and of course, there's a security aspect right between those two elements. And the third-party system to the air portal, another API call, which is in depth of the security, checked right there. And then from the from the portal to your email, another security check. And of course, from the Airfob pass to your device, another check. So from Airfob provides end-to-end mobile access solution with high security. Breaking down those points that you just saw there. So the API communicates between the Airfob portal and the third-party server. B, the mobile access card ID is encrypted in data sets. C, the mobile access card data encrypted in mobile devices, preventing mobile card data replay attacks, and also preventing mobile card data forgery. The Airfob system achieved certification as to prove its security measures across the entire platform and system. Of course, the API communication between the Airfob port and the third-party server. So definitely the in-app SDK adapts the same secure access security as well. And of course, you could access the Airfob portal uses AWS API gateway service for networking throttle as a preemptive measure to avoid brutal network attacks. And you may wonder where this AWS portal is. That is based in our HQ office or HQ location in Korea. Yep, so we're all going through this scenario here of COVID-19, where we're either pressured to wear a mask, pressured to obviously not touch anything physical, just to avoid, you know, transfer of this pandemic situation. And of course, the risk of, oh, let's go back to our old technology or old card, but then also reawaken the reason why you went to biometric. So for RFID unsafe risk, and of course the TNA time thefts as well, where I'm handing out my card to someone else to pretend as if they're here, or I'm running late. Please check me with your card to avoid the system. So with all these three factors, it's now been expedited to now go out in the market with a mobile access solution. So here at Suprema, we have multiple. So we have the face aspect where, you know, touching, like look and go, or you can use your mobile access now with your phone and getting without touching any service at all. And of course, we have our support where you can actually use the thermal camera and send a signal out to our face recognition reader, whether or not your temperature is high or not, to gain access. So we're fully engaged in regards to this scenario of COVID-19 to survive and provide solution for our existing customers that already purchased their biometric readers. So let's say if you have a bunch of sites that have the N2, as you see before my demonstration, I'm able to add the N2 with the proper firmware into our Airfob portal. And how it benefits from access control management. So looking at this picture here, you could think of an office that could basically have a long queue. It says use the left one as a hotel. So everyone's coming to sign in. There's a huge queue, a huge lineup. Staff's going slowly, doing one at a time. With the Airfob and their portal, you could literally you could be at home and you could send information over to any of your customers that's looking to rent out your hotel room. And all they have to do pretty much is open that email address, head to the room that's been assigned to them via email, and then badge the phone onto that reader, and they gain access. So there's no lineup, there's no queue. And of course, you can manage the validation dates. So you can revoke and you can block for added security and safety. You could have multiple sites on one device. So I don't know if you guys noticed that on my phone. I have multiple different sites, but I'm using the exact same email every single time. So how that looks is if I was to open the app again for you guys and show you my screen. All right, so if you see here, I have the site on the bottom, if you could see it. If I left another site for my Suprema training, HQ Mobile Access, another card, another site that I created, another site. So I could have multiple different cards with just one phone, and I could gain access to different location. So that's what pretty much the diagram on the right shows you. One admin remotely giving access to a user that could enter Office A, Office B, and Office C. Obviously, with the old technology of RFID card, you probably have to carry multiple cards to gain different access to different offices. So you can see one of the key benefit in the sales aspect for our sales team is selling this solution. You know, security, COVID-19, and then obviously from access control management, this makes it very easy, and you don't have to be in an office. It could be remote, and you can be anywhere as well. Okay, moving on. So another pop quiz. Which Airfob license would you recommend for a sports/gym, fitness gym? There's multiple answers here, but the one I'm looking for is less technical. So looking at my participation list here. Anyone wants to volunteer? So before I gave you the answer to choose from, here you now have to dig deep in your note taking. So I'm going to pick someone random since I don't see any raised hands. All right, Jeff. All right, so Jeff has said the answer is dynamic. Anybody disagrees, or anyone has another input of another way this could work as well? So for a fitness gym, yes, it definitely will be dynamic for membership and expiry dates, but also keep in mind too, the simple fact that you could also have regular on the exact same site for employees, right? So you'd be creating two different sites on your portal. One would be for dynamic for your customers, and you create another one that would be employees of the same gym. So as I was showing you before, there is a partner portal. So if you click on partner.mochainc.com, It's pretty much where you can now issue license, which you control credits, maintenance credits, issue dates, activation dates, and who you're issuing it to in the email it belongs to, and the vendor. So you have multiple ways of where you could manage and resell the Mocha license to all your different end users. And the key points of the partner platform is you get credit stock management, self-license code generation, and of course the license code resell / purchase. So you could buy it at a low cost and sell more at a high through the partner portal. All right, so pretty much you have all your different partners and resell and distribution, and you'll give them all credits. All right, so like I said before, Suprema would purchase 10,000 credits from Mocha, and then Mocha would then distribute that license that they purchased. So for my diagram here, 10,000 credits was sold to a distributor A. Distributor A then gives license self-activation to their SI reseller, who then resells to their customer, right? 10,000 credit was purchased from distributor B, who then gives it directly to their end user because they don't have any SI or resellers. It's just directly to their end user. So there's different ways you could sell in your own way. There's no limitation. And then as a perk here, so this goes back down to Jeff's question. So A, if it's a gym that's brand new and it's coming up for launch, you could have multiple doors that will be affixed to certain scenarios. So there's 16 gyms with 60,000 users, 200 employees. So with 3 doors, you have one for all. So all the users will basically use the one door, and that could be the dynamic. And then 2 for only employees. So in and out, which will be a factor on the regular aspect for users coming in and out. And as you see, you can manage 6 gyms with our portal. So you can have a mixed use for the best combination that works for you. And closing out, my last point is the integration piece. So if you're a developer or if you're a customer that have their own third-party app, they could definitely integrate their third-party app or their server directly to this solution. So how it is the API from the third-party server to the Airfob portal, and of course your own app communicating with the Airfob portal along with the third-party server. So what we use is a Airfob portal open for REST API, and of course you could use Android jar, or you could use Apple as well for your in-app. So it's definitely applicable for either or of those 2 smartphones. And if you break it down of how it works, so 1, the mobile card generation API requests. So your third-party server will then communicate back to the Airfob portal with the email mobile card ID. Then after that, you have an API response. So the transfer of the mobile card data will then go back to the server. Then the mobile device will do the initiation back to the third party, and then the mobile card input into the in-app SDK. And then after that, you take the in-app SDK with your phone or your third-party app, which would then communicate via NFC/BLE, depending on the smartphone of your choice. So whether you're using a BlackBerry, which I have here, or you want to basically use an iPhone, which I also have here, based on your technology, you badge it to the XPass reader. So if you're using an XPass directly through our BioStar system, then that would trigger the relay from the back of the reader. If you're using it with a third-party ACU, then you connect the Wiegand cables, like I showed earlier on the Paxton panel there. And then you could basically have a flow with your own software and your own app. Oh, okay. So moving along. So as you know, BioStar platform, very easy to use, installation very easy, and we could integrate with many different third-party applications out in the field. Of course, with this new addition, we've now got a little stronger with different aspects. You have face, you have biometric, you have RFID cards only. Now you have mobile access. many ways to basically gain sales from any type of customer, any type of situations. Moving forward, the FAQ. So we have had a few recent questions in regards to this technology. I'll try to mention them and give you an answer. You may have the same. So question number 1, card type and license. When ordering, how will you define dynamic from fixed? So when you order, you can just order credits. How you define whether it's regular or dynamic. Like I showed you before, when you create a new site, the first thing it asks you for is, do you want a regular or dynamic, right? So we just give you the credit. You decide whether or not it's going to be regular or dynamic. In line with dynamic, if you have 10 credits, that is equivalent to 10 devices, but it's valid for 1 month, right? So 1 device times 10 months. In a dynamic type means it does not recommend use for a regular employee, right? So this is designed more on a membership and events only. So you only want to use dynamic for membership, or if something is going to happen recently just for one time, that's when dynamic will be more applicable. General information question. Suprema Mobile Access can be applied with centralized solution or only distributed solution. So you can use it for both. As you saw there, I'm able to add it and put it into a reader that's attached to the core station and a reader that's operating by itself. And of course, number 4, what happens to the existing customer after Airfob portal change? So no effect on the existing license functionality, only the UI change. What happens to the existing BioStar 2 integration and API calls? Existing customers can use the same settings and API URL, no change at all. You notice if you type in any of the old links, it comes right back to the same redirection. So you're okay in that aspect. Can a regular card use the custom card? Not currently. You will need to add this feature later on. Question number 7, would multiple card work for regular cards? Yes, multiple cards is supported regardless of dynamic or regular. So as you saw on my phone, I was able to dash through multiple different cards I've had based on different sites I've created. What happens to the URL address after the Airfob portal change? Like I said, the previous one was mcsuprema.io. Will now redirect to the new one, which is https://mc.mochainc.com. Can we import CSV files to get user information? We're working on that feature. We will keep you updated as soon as possible. Any questions before I pull up the poll for you guys to answer the survey questions? Thanks for everyone for coming and joining in for today's session. If you have any more questions, feel free to send us an email or onto the support, create a ticket. I look forward to hearing from anyone that may have any use case scenarios or any questions. Don't hesitate at all. You can message me directly. I can respond to you directly if you want to. Or in 5 days, we'll have this webinar ready again. And the links will be there, and the question and answer that we're getting throughout the whole entire presentation will also be listed. And of course, my presentation slide as well will be submitted. Thank you.